All right, everybody, welcome to the Leadership Mastermind podcast. I am Mitch Peak, and this is my co-host, Laura Brandeo. How are you doing, Laura?
I am doing awesome, Mitch. So happy to be here. We have a fabulous guest that I am ready to introduce. We have Bo Belmont. He is a serial entrepreneur and a mortgage and real estate expert. Bo began his career at AmeriQuest. I think we remember that name. And then in 2008, he flipped his first home, sparking his passion in real estate. Since that time, Bo has been a part of more than 1,200 real estate transactions. He is the co-founder of Bellwood University, a teaching and mentoring program focused around investing, and he is the founder and owner of Bellwood Investments, which has become one of California's fastest growing fix and flip companies. So we are excited to have Bo on the show.
Awesome. Welcome,
Thank
Bo.
you, Laura. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Mitch. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man, it's nice to have you. And I've seen you on Facebook, watching, some of your flips, and it's always cool to see, that happen from, beginning to end, and it's cool to watch. So AmeriQuest, huh? So those are the ones that had like the best commercials ever, right?
Oh, yeah.
They had the best everything. I tell you, it was awesome. It was the best.
That's all I remember about AmeriQuest was the commercials.
But I have to tell you, from me starting in the mortgage industry, I remember AmeriQuest was kind of like who everyone was trying to chase. Like we were like, oh, we have to train our loan officers to be just like the AmeriQuest loan officers. So yeah, I certainly remember them.
It was, just a really good feeling when you went in there. They had really good leadership, just room to promote, and they had a good product, right? They had a good product. They were able to reach out to a lot of people, and the training was amazing, right? It was like Keller Williams, right? They really spent a lot of time training you, making sure that you'd be able to execute efficiently. And I can remember I was in the back seat, right? And one of my buddies had already worked there, and he'd slipped me a couple leads, and I was closing my first deals like in training. So they really got you in there quick, and man, I was making money within 2 weeks. It was amazing.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the good old days, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's get this thing started, and I'm going to ask you the big question. So what are your top 3 key pillars to leadership?
Great question. So honesty is number one, right? And that goes across the board with everything, right? You got to be honest with your employees, with everybody that you're sharing your product with. Vision, okay? Vision. You got to have something, right? You got to have something to share. You really want to motivate your people. You're a leader. People are looking up to you. And integrity, right? You got to be, proud of what you're doing. Okay, proud of what you're doing, passionate in what you're doing, and all 3 of those are what I really hold close to me, because this is what's taken Bellwood to the heights that it's been at right now.
Great. So let me take vision. Okay, I'll take that one. So in regards to vision, all right, it looks like you've kind of pivoted through different markets. You've pivoted through changing and adapting and being able to take that new concept and turning it into a vision. You have a university, you have the fix and flips. Even before we went live, we were speaking about staging. And I almost think staging homes is the vision, isn't it? You're creating a vision for that prospective buyer for those homes. So how do you, and here's another thing, I recently read something that only 13% of people's plans turn into a fully executed, actionable plan. So how do you not only create the vision for your teams and for your organization, but what do you do to clearly define the executable plan to make sure that it happens?
Sure. Great question. So you have to have something that's attainable, right? Something that's feasible, tangible, right? You can't just say, hey, I'd like to build the next SpaceX rocket, and you don't have the support to do that, right? So you have to have the support around you and the means to be able to execute that, right? So let's use staging, for instance. I saw a direct need with my business for staging. I was spending $60,000, every quarter on staging. And I said, well, hold on. I could buy, 10 homes worth of furniture with that amount of money and really facilitate my own and even share the opportunity with other investors and make money off of this opportunity. So what did I do? Well, I said, okay, there's a need for it. Do I have the support and the backing to do it, right? Well, it was just a financial cost at that point because we know that we can go buy furniture anywhere. So it was just a process of using my resources that were at my fingertips and having a reason for it, right? There's no reason for me to go build a SpaceX rocket, but there's a reason for me to eventually build a national staging company to accommodate our national real estate investment company. So those two work together, and that was an easy opportunity to execute just because we had everything kind of lined up there.
Right. So you're talking about creating the vision. So let's go back to the beginning when you flipped your first home. Was it at that point that you had the vision that you wanted to start doing this more and start investing, or was that kind of your first one and was just kind of it?
So great question. So I got out of the subprime mortgage industry, which there was no such thing in 2007, right? Everybody was gone. And you only had to have, getting a loan was A+ or better, right? Nobody else was getting a loan. So I had to segue. So, I had saw a couple other investor friends of mine flipping houses. It was interesting at the time. There was nothing on HGTV. There was none of that, right? So what I did was said, okay, here's a property that I did a loan on down the street. And I did a loan for like $400,000. And now this home was being sold for $150,000. Right? It was being sold for $150,000. So I saw the opportunity there. So I said, okay, even if I was able to just get $300,000 or $275,000, I'm going to be able to make a sufficient, pretty good chunk of money. So I made the segue, purchased this first home down the street from a home that I had did a loan on 6 months or actually a year prior. Okay. So I saw that there's room to make some money there. So I purchased the first home. I flipped it completely by myself. YouTube and Google and literally books, okay? And I did everything. I did the electrical panel, I did the roof, I did the windows, I even did the stucco. The only thing I did not do was the granite. I didn't fabricate the granite, okay? Now, it worked out great. I passed all inspections by the grace of God. But the house made like a weird buzzing noise when you flipped on the lights. It's like bzzz. So I don't know if it came out completely correct, but I sold it and made about $80,000. Okay, passed inspections. It was great. Okay, so I saw that there was a path moving forward. Now, where did the vision come to make this a national business and eventually international business? Well, I'll tell you. Once I flipped my first house, and then my second, and then my third, I had friends coming up to me and saying, "Hey, Bo, I want to do what you're doing. I want to flip a house. This is amazing." And flipping houses caught on fire. Then we started seeing HGTV. We started seeing everything. Everybody wanted to become a flipper, right? And so I said, okay, great. If you want to do this, quit your job and come up with a lot of money. And they said, well, I can't do that. I work for Cisco or I work for the hospital. I can't just quit my job, but I want to do what you're doing. And I said, well, honestly, it's impossible because this is a full-time job and it takes a lot of energy and there's so many different moves. You're going to lose money if you don't put your full focus into it. And they said, well, that's just a game killer, but what can I do? I said, all right, well, I tell you what, let me partner with you on this project. The money that it would cost me to flip this home, you come in with, I'll manage the entire project. I'll even come in with the bulk of it. I'll come in with 65% because I was getting hard money lending given to me back then. And it was so expensive. It was like 14% interest rate. It was crazy with 5 points, nuts. But I was still able to borrow that money and make money with it. So I said, hey, I have this relationship with hard money. I'll come in with that. You come in with the difference. We'll flip the house. I'll manage it. I'll get the contractors. I'll do the inspections, everything. And at the end of the day, we'll split it. Well, that caught on fire. Okay. Then I had other friends coming up. I want to do what he did. What Joe did. Joe made like 30% on his money. I said, I know, he's lucky. Meanwhile, I'm doing flips on my own. But then I had all these friends coming up to me and more friends and more friends. And then friends friends and friends of friends of friends. It was crazy. We had hundreds of people coming to me saying, I want to build houses with you. So what I did was in 2018, completely dedicate to this process, in which we call now the B52 method, where investors or friends are able to get 50% of the equity for only 20% of the investment, right? You guys may have seen that online. So it's morphed. My relationship with hard money is no longer hard money, it's private equity money. You may have heard the bank before, it's Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs lends me money as well as other entities for much more affordably. We're talking 5% with 1 point or a half a point. So it's definitely grown into a really good relationship. So now I share that relationship with all of my friends, and that has caught fire. And now we have over 1,000 of our secondary investors. And with our pool of money, over $122 billion worth of financing at our fingertips. So it morphed literally from flipping that one house I did a loan on down the street to now this national business that's just skyrocketed, 1,000% growth since 2018. So there's a long-winded answer for you.
So I'm curious, obviously the markets have completely changed, right? When you first flipped, that was when the market was crashing, right? So of course you were able to pick up properties for very, very inexpensive. There was lots of room for selling it at much higher of a cost. You are in the complete extreme opposite of a market, right? So here we are at the top. Now we're probably back in 2006, right? If you were going to equate, maybe 05, 06. Okay, so now in this particular market, and being a national company, right? You're saying that you're doing this all across the country. What are you seeing in this market? And are there still opportunities for people to be able to make such a high return considering the restrictions in the market?
Sure. So across the board, inventory is tough. Okay, so our next heaviest market is North Carolina. So in every between, we're in Michigan, Chicago, or Illinois, Florida, Texas, New York, we're everywhere. Okay, now everywhere, limited inventory. So how are we able to stay above the rest, right? How are we able to get inventory where nobody else is? And the key is relationships, and being able to offer a product to realtors that other investors are not. We'll give you a perfect example. Realtors are losing their clients every day to iBuyers. Okay, Zillow. Zillow, Opendoor, right now, those are the bad guys. They're the bad guys. They are trying to completely eliminate the realtor and go straight to the consumer. Okay, you don't need them. You save money with Zillow. Matter of fact, you actually lose money with Zillow. It's like 11% in costs when you use Zillow, as opposed to your traditional realtor at 6%, right? So,
but it's very simple. But it's easy, right?
So simple, absolutely. And after 4 price reductions, you're good. So I totally get that. And so Bellwood has become the iBuyer for realtors to use. Okay. We are their tool in the pocket. Now we're not just Joe investor who's going to do 3 to 5 deals, even 10 to 20 deals a year, right? And so what we are is a tool that you can use unlimited. Like, you don't have to have a cap on how many homes you use or sell to Bellwood. So what are we? Well, we're a gift for realtors, because we're not going to steal your clients. We're going to bring money to your bank accounts. Let me give you an example. You have a client who wants to sell their home. They need a quick cash offer. Well, if you are a realtor and you bring them to Zillow and say, hey, my client wants a quick cash offer, they're going to say, thank you for the lead. Goodbye now. Right? Now for us, you do the same thing with Bellwood. We're going to say, great, you can go ahead and represent Bellwood as the buyer. We're going to flip the home with one of our national contractors like Home Depot or PPG Paints, whom we're partnered with. Then after we're done, we're going to give it right back to you. Okay, Zillow does not offer that. No. The real ticket here right now is realtors. They're the ones who are building and maintaining relationships in the community. They're the trusted partners. People are going to go talk to the realtor down the street about their home quicker than they're going to talk to somebody over the phone in a corporate center, right? They're going to want to talk to the realtor. but the realtor may not have access to that iBuyer like Zillow and Open Door. So we empower that realtor with that iBuyer capacity. I mean, showing up to a listing appointment with a cash offer in hand every single time. It's just an option. It's just an option.
Well, that's awesome. So tell us this, obviously we all drive around, we see those little yellow signs in the corner that says, we buy houses and here's a phone number. So do you participate in that kind of stuff, or is it more relationship driven like you're talking now?
So what I've noticed on those bandit signs is there are a lot of wholesalers, a lot of wholesalers. And, I just don't, the type of response that you get from those types of signs is not somebody who's, they're just not a real stable type of lead. It's just not. You're getting people that say, well, I saw a house down the street that's pretty messed up. You guys want to buy it? You're like, great. Are you the owner? Well, no, it's just a messed up house, and you buy ugly houses. I just want to, can I get paid now? And so it becomes more of a headache. Now, somebody like a wholesaler who can sit at home all day and just answer and screen these calls, well, that might be a lucrative business. But for us, it's all about building and maintaining relationships with realtors, lenders throughout the community, because, hey, you guys are the trusted people in the community. And so if we can offer a product or a service to you that makes you money and helps your clients, then that's a win-win for everybody.
Right. So let's talk about number one. You said honesty. So you're building your business from just you. Tell us how honesty has played a key role in building from just yourself to where you're at now and with your staff.
Sure. So honesty is number one, right? Because as an investor or an investment company, people are entrusting us with their money, right? I have, investors with as little as, a couple $1,000s to a few $1 million, right? And they've entrusted me and my company with those funds, right? Now, for me, I have a bit of a past, right? In 2013, something tragic happened to myself and my family and to those around me. It was definitely a ripple effect, okay? And what it was a life-changing experience, and it really, really rocked my entire world. And being able to be transparent with my investors about what happened in 2013 and about the pain and trauma that it caused and where we're at now and what we've done to ensure that type of thing never happens again, and that there's been lessons learned, and let's address that and then look at our track record as far as financials, right? Okay, we've seen the negative, we've addressed it. Now let's look at business, okay? And so what I found is with being honest about that situation in 2013, people have said, okay, you know what? There was a mistake made, there was a correction, there was a penalty that was completed, and now this person is just like me, just like you, just like somebody I know, right? He's humanized himself. He's just not somebody else who collects money, right? This is a person that has experienced life at its lowest and at its fullest, okay? And so when I share that experience with people, because, hey, I was a mortgage broker, in the early 2000s, and then had everything, lost everything, had everything again, and I've experienced everything in between. Along those lines, right, I've shared everything, okay? I've been an open book. And so with that, people are able to relate with me. And, as long as I continue to maintain that transparency and that honesty, I think people really, really are attracted to that, rather than somebody trying to sweep something under the rug and avoid it. I go towards the heat rather than away from it. So that's huge for me.
Yeah, I watched your first episode on More Clicks, and it was wonderful. And you mentioned something about writing at night, that you wrote 700 pages in the evening because you kind of were like, that was your therapy, right? That was your way that you processed that, because I guess you were having trouble sleeping because of all the thoughts running through your brain. So as you were writing, what were you writing? Were they lessons learned? What was that? What were you writing about?
Yeah, so I actually wrote a book just about my whole experience. You know, it was a cathartic thing, right?
Okay.
I wanted to go over what had happened, what had transpired from day one, right? And really evaluate it and dissect it and put it back together on paper. And so it was life lessons. It was the experience. It was, how could this have happened? You know, there was, you know, remorse, there's guilt, there's, you know, all these feelings that I was able to, you know, bring forth onto paper, right? It was completely cathartic, and I was able to zone in on that between the hours of, you know, 9 p.m. and 4 a.m., right? When I could, you know, somewhat focus. And so I can reflect on that writing and really put myself back into a place that I know I will never be back again. So once you hit the bottom, you know, I really, you know, I'm not a huge proponent of hitting rock bottom, but unless you've hit it, you don't know where it's at, right? You don't really know. And so, but when you've seen it and you've been down there, then you can say, okay, I get it down here. I understand what it's like. This is the last place in the world I'm ever going to be at again.
Right.
I'm going to do this again. So only
you have your choice, right? You're either going to stay there, right? You're either going to stay there, or you're going to say, I will never be here again, and I'm going to make this change, right?
Amen. Amen. And unfortunately, a lot of people feel hopeless when they get down there, and they're like, that's so far up there.
Right.
Oh my God, it's so far up there. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. So I might as well just hang out with these things down here, with these people that feel the same way. And then you're just going to stay down there. You are what you surround yourself with. And if you're at the bottom of the well, hanging out with the bottom of the well people, you're going to be bottom of the well for the rest of your life. And so that wasn't me. And all it takes is for me to go through a couple pages in that book, typed out, completely, was written, then typed, no computer. And I just have to look at one page and say, whoop, focused, right? Now, I haven't had to look in it for a long time because I have so much on my plate right now. We have such an amazing thing. But I'm telling you right now, if at any point in time I need to just reflect a little bit, all I have to do is glance. And right there, that book, what I wrote for that 6-month period of time, is enough to teach me a lifetime of lessons.
Did you publish the book? Is it published?
No, I've been approached several times. It's really something that's kind of,
it's something special for you.
It's something special for me, and it's something that I will eventually share. But there's so many typos in it, you don't want to read it anyways. But no, it's something that I will eventually share with everybody. Right now, you know, doing the documentary, putting that out there was a really strong step, and you know, it's been up and down. You know, it was hard at first. You know, I'm happy to share it, but there's a lot of shame and guilt and embarrassment. You know, you see these things written about you, and it's like, that is not true. You know, and the media can be just so harsh. And, you know, and I've seen just the dark side of the judicial system. I've seen the great side of the judicial system. I've seen it all throughout this. And it's just been just a tremendous experience. And, you know, long-winded answer, you know, I will eventually, but probably
it's on the list, but it's not ready yet because the story's not over. You still have lessons to learn that need to go in there.
You know what? Well, the book is done. The book is done. There may be a part 2, obviously, with future lessons, but you know, I would say within the next year or something, we'll have something come out.
Cool.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, man. So people can catch your, you know, the first part of your story that, you know, Laura just mentioned on Mortflix. So that's, you know, that's really cool to check out and learn a little bit more about Bo and what's going on with what you're doing. But tell me this: I know you run into and you plan ahead and for your investors on all situations when it comes to with investing in houses. And I've seen some of the places you've purchased and some of the stuff that's been there, from that to houses you purchased and people were squatting in and you couldn't get them out. So tell us some of that. What is your biggest hurdles that you've had to overcome with with this and being able to show a profit for your investors?
Sure. So the biggest thing that we encounter is evaluation of a property. Now, we say no 100 times before we say yes once. Okay. So here at Bellwood, we have a 4-tiered evaluation process that really protects our investors, right? So it's basically 4 times for us to say no to the property, right? Basically 4 levels of underwriters, and we all know underwriters, God bless them, but we have years of them. Okay, so that all, those are all built on protecting our investor, right? We don't speculate on value. This is the biggest mistake I see right now investors are doing, and it's a word that I created. It's called spequity, okay? Where they're speculating on equity. Okay, and so with spequity, what they say is, well, January went up by so and so, February went up by, and March. Okay, so by October we're going to be here, and since we're going to be here, I could pay more for that house. Yeah. Well, all it takes is a little interest rate adjustment, right? A little settling in the market, and that spequity is now a loss, right?
Yeah, foreclosure moratorium. The foreclosure moratorium's there. That's going to change it.
Absolutely. So now we have, investors who are, just making some foolish mistakes, and we avoid those. So when we're evaluating property, we evaluate, hey, we buy it today at this price. If we flipped it, we'd be able to sell it today at this price. Okay. That way, if there's a decline in market, our equity is built down here, not up here, right? So that protects us, essentially. As far as selecting certain homes, which ones would be best, hoarders versus foundation issues, everything has a price. Everything has a price. And if we're able to calculate an $80,000, foundation supporting, where they need to restabilize it or lift it up out of the ground, well, then we have to just calculate that into our numbers and say, okay, well, that's just an 80 grand hit right there. Then we have to remodel the home. After that's said and done, we're able to apply a price to pay for that home. Now, we have an app in the App Store, the Bellwood Agent app, that calculates everything based on price per square foot in geographical area. So let's say a light, medium, or heavy fixture generates a certain amount per square foot cost. Well, we're able to say, okay, well, that medium fixture in Poughkeepsie, New York is $42.50 a square foot. Now, a medium fixture in Beverly Hills, California is going to be more like $75 for a medium fixture, just because the cost for labor and the higher end materials is going to play into account. So our app, which was created by App Nouveau out of Canada, they were able to create an algorithm and equations for us to instantly give pricing on these homes. So it's proprietary to us, and we're super excited to share that. And that's basically how we're able to calculate houses here in-house in our corporate office. Houses in North Carolina, Florida, we can do it instantly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking to myself, I mean, if you're in California, how would you know what the market's like in North Carolina? But that is how you're able to do this nationwide. And what are you primarily looking for? You're looking for additional investors to come into the group. Like, who's your client? Let me understand. Who's your client?
Yeah. So our client, we have a couple different clients, right? Yeah. Our client, realtors. Now, realtors help in inventory, right? Perfect. We want them to use us, so we're going to pay them twice as much, right? You get the listing, you're going to represent us on the buy, and even you have the opportunity to invest. Now I'll go into the investment side. Yep. Bellwood was created to bring real estate investing to everybody. As you recall, I was talking about my friends who wanted to do real estate investing, but they didn't have all the time or all the money, right? They're like, I don't have $250,000 and I don't have all the time, but I would love to do what you're doing. I'm like, so you want your cake and eat it too, is what you're saying. Right?
Always.
So, always, right? It's America. So here we have a situation where I really wanted to help them out. Okay. Now, with the advent of my private money becoming more and more affordable, I was able to refine a system called the B52 method, right? Now, the B52 method is simply B is for Bellwood, 50% of the equity for 20% of the investment. What is 20% of the investment? Well, the investment is the acquisition cost and remodeling and carrying costs, everything all bundled into one. That gives us a total package, everything it takes to turn that house from ugly to beautiful. So let's just say that cost was $150,000 to purchase, $200,000 total with $50,000 worth of remodeling, right? $200,000 package. Our investors are coming in with 20% of that amount, and it's not written in a check to Bellwood Investments. You never do that. There's no money being wired to us. It actually gets sent to a title and escrow company secured as a deed of trust onto the property. Then we flip.
So it is on an individual project. Like it's not our individual project. So 123 Main Street in XYZ city state, that project, you're putting down 20% as an investor on that transaction.
As a deed of trust, secured, home is flipped, deed of trust paid back, and then along with that deed of trust money comes half the profit. Okay,
that makes sense.
Even better. I have something even better. Okay. We have another app coming out that allows us to put up to 16 investors on one property.
Got it.
One. Secured the second through 17th deed of trust. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the highest investor on a specific property would be in the second position. Goldman Sachs is always going to take first. Goldman or one of our investors, Anchor, whoever it may be, they're going to take first, and then we can fill up the line respectively, right? So let's say 5,000 in second, 3,000 in third, so on and so forth, right? So now what are we doing? Well, now we're bringing real estate investing, secure real estate investing, secured as a deed, to everybody. Now somebody can flip a home for, let's say, $1,000. They might be the 15th deed of trust, but our average return on these things is over 30%. So if somebody's going to invest $1,000 in real estate, which they would never have been able to do before, and earn a 30% return, well, now that's changing the real estate investment world. Talk about vision. Bellwood Investments will be the #1 real estate investment company in the world. Why? Because we're bringing real estate investing to your fingertips. You can flip a house from the couch.
It's like the stock market for investing.
Yeah, are they doing it individually, or are these people like having their own LLCs or some type of business that they put it under?
Yeah, so most people start an LLC, which is what I recommend. But I'm not a CPA or an accountant, so I always recommend to talk with them first. But the majority of our investors start an LLC and then create as a business, right? This is an opportunity for them to really get in real estate in the fullest capacity, but without all the headache, right? Without all the dealing with contractors. Oh, I showed up sick, or dealing with the inspector. You did that wrong, or the wrong material. Who knows? There's so many things that could go wrong.
Absolutely.
Here's the way to invest in real estate in a safe and secure way.
Absolutely.
I love that. So, like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I remember one specific home you purchased, and I think it was a hoarder, and there was like 8 vehicles out front, and the house was full of everything. So stuff like that. Do you ever run into one where you don't make money?
So I have in the past, before I started Bellwood Investments, I've broken even a couple times, learned my lessons, right? I've learned my lessons. I've never lost $1 on a property. And we're close to like 1,500 right now. So I've never lost, but I've broken even. Now with Bellwood, the least return that we've gotten for our investor was 5% in 92 days. And that was a decision. The neighbor was crazy. Okay. Literally he would go hunting, no offense to hunters, but he would dress his animals in the front. And so I'm literally looking at the house, and this guy's like waving, he's got blood coming down his head. I'm like, oh my God. This is not going to work out well. But the most friendly guy, parked his 4-wheeler, had the gun racks on there, right on the front lawn. Hey, neighbor. And it was great. But that was in Folsom. You can't do that here in Folsom, right? Everybody And so, yeah, there's just, so we said collectively, investors, partners, we're going to have a difficult time selling this home. Do you think we should lower price and just get rid of it and move on to the next? So that's exactly what we did. We lowered price, sold it instantly. People that were able to do, I think it was a fellow hunter, so they're like, all good.
I can deal with this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
How's it, bro? And so we were able to sell, get rid of it, reinvest their dollars in something that was able to, we learned a lesson. We really evaluated our neighbors. We were looking for, certain stickers in the windows. Just kidding.
That's funny.
But
what is the average time? What are you seeing? I mean, I know this market is very unique to itself, but what are you seeing the average time?
Average time for what? A flip?
Yeah, from start to finish.
So it depends on the scope of work, for sure.
Right.
So our light fixtures, we've had some that are done in a week, and then we've had some of our fixtures that we're still working on. As a matter of fact, Mitch, the house that you're talking about with the 8 cars in the front, which was actually 11, we're still working on it. We are just about to finish it. And that has been like a 1.5-year project. And let's see here. We're finishing up the gate. So we're finishing up, we got a nice electric gate on there to ensure none of these guys come back. But it was the worst hoarder home that I've ever seen. Oh. The absolute worst hoarder home. We had, I want to say 18 40-yard dumpsters.
Wow.
40-yard dumpsters.
I think I asked you this before on that post, but when you come across something like that, so as me, I would think, man, it's a hoarder. There's got to be value somewhere in that house. Do you typically sell those cars? Do you look for valuable items, or do you just hire somebody to come in and just start throwing shit in the dumpster?
Yeah, throw that shit in the dumpster, for the most part. So there is obviously going to be valuables in there. What we do at Bellwood is we speak with the seller. If they, they needed a cash offer or something, need to get out of Dodge, we actually send back their heirlooms. So if we find like photo albums, family videos, stuff like that, we mail it all back. Big time valuables for sure. They just misplaced. I mean, we found, little tackle boxes filled with like family heirloom jewels. And, we've given that back. It was hard. We're like, oh, this is worth a couple $100,000. You left it underneath the bed. You really didn't want it, did you? But no, they do. So we'll send it all back. But then again, there's cars, old collectibles. There was a Trans Am there, which I asked to convey with the property. I said, the only thing I want here is that Trans Am. And they said, sure, you can have the Trans Am. And then the next day, the Trans Am was gone. So I didn't find it, but that was like a personal thing. As far as like selling that stuff, that's too much time. It's too much time. We're not in the, scrap metal business or anything like that. I do have a partner of mine who wanted to start a secondhand type of store thing. And honestly, that just sounded like too much of a headache because we get all of these things. And my thing right now is just donate it. I call a couple services that come and pick up everything. It's just way cleaner that way.
All right. Well, you see, people that buy like storage units, to me, that's kind of the same thing you're buying, and so some people find some really valuable things in those storage units. So that's why I'm like, man, you're pulling 40-yard dumpsters full of stuff out of there. Is it,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I knew a guy.
Go ahead.
I knew a guy locally that had passed away, and they hired somebody to come in and clean his house that was a hoarder house. And they said, like you said, they wanted their family heirlooms and stuff like that. But they said, you clean it out, you give us 25% of whatever you sell, and we'll call it good. And he was like, okay, so he went in there and found gold coins, guns, all kinds of stuff. And then, he would just put it on Facebook and, hey, come out and get this fence panels and get this and get that. And, that was his job for months, was just cleaning out that place and giving a percentage of it, to the owner's, family.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely have participated in a similar type of circumstance. That hoarder home that you're referring to right now, we were able to pull out some unique things. I was able to get a couple cool like baseball cards. I think there was like a Mickey
That's a
Mantle
big
in
market
there.
nowadays.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. But I was able to collect a couple of those. Previously, I mean, I have paintings that have been left at homes. There was this one that was amazing. It was actually a briefcase of this artist named Mary Gerhardt, and actually she is pretty well known here in California. And I found her literal briefcase filled with all of her art from school.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had it at $60,000, and it was left as trash. It was left as trash. It was a foreclosure. I didn't have any contact with the previous owners, and so yeah, I was able to collect this. Now it's in my family forever. So yeah, there's absolutely treasures there. I wish I had more time to work with.
Yeah, I'm just glad that you do find some of that stuff and it doesn't all end up, like you said, some gets donated, some gets sold, collected, but it doesn't all end up in a dumpster.
Yeah, we'll definitely donate it. If there's monetary value, we will either sell it ourselves or I'll give it to one of the workers or something like that. Most of the time, our workers are coming up to us saying, "Hey, you going to use this tool?" I'm like, "No, dude, I really am not going to. Go ahead, you can have it all. Just clean it so we can start working on it. That is our goal."
And what are the 4 things that these quote underwriter type people are looking for? Because like I'm thinking to myself, that hoarder house might have been something I would say no to. So what are they actually looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at obviously comps, right? We're looking at comps. We're looking at the condition of the home. We're looking at several different areas of the home. Now, obviously, a hoarder home, there's tons of stuff around it, but what we do is we go in there, we send a contractor in there to look at the bones, right? We want to see foundation, number 1, right? Now, between the walls, we know what's between the walls, right? Being that I flipped my first 3 houses, I understood what is potentially between that wall. There might be some plumbing, there might be some electrical, but other than that, it's studs and drywall, right? Yep. So we're able to walk through these homes and evaluate the big ticket items: HVAC, windows, roof, foundation, right? Plumbing, electrical. As long as those things are intact, then we're able to put a price per square foot on everything else, right? Yep. Okay, regardless of all this debris, the home is in great solid condition. Okay, so then we just have to calculate the cost of removing all that garbage. Okay, so when we're evaluating, we have to say, okay, great, this house is a medium fixer, but it gets bumped up to a heavy category because of all the debris and trash in the yard, right? So everything has a dollar figure attached to it. So along these 4 tiers of evaluation, we have the first as the realtor or the scout partner that brought us the property, right? Then it goes to the state manager. The state manager is the state that manages the state. Then it goes to our national manager, which is Gary Merlot, great guy, been with us for a long time and understands value. And then finally, the last tier of evaluation is the bank, Goldman Sachs or Anchor or whomever we're going to use at that point in time. And then they say, all your numbers are good, confirmed, right? Now, when we confirm our numbers, we can do an online evaluation. Online diagnostic is what we call it. And then when we send a contractor out there before our deposit's due, he's just giving us a thumbs up. Hey, Bellwood, you guys said that this is a medium fixture at $42.61 a square foot. I concur. Or he said, you know what? What's not disclosed was a big, huge crack running through the basement and a little creek going through it. That was closed. So when our contractor goes in there, he goes, hey, yeah, no, it's not a 42 medium fixture. It's at more of a 120 heavy. And then, okay, agent who brought us this property, we have an issue here. We need the price, we need to reduce price, or we need to get out of Dodge. So those are
that's great. That's great. And I mean, your thought of I'm kind of looking at the future is your vision for the future is to be able to bring this quote to mainstream, right? To be able to take the average person out there that is looking to invest, that doesn't understand anything of what you just said, right? They would just go in and say, oh, this looks like a rundown house. Maybe I can flip my own, which we all know It is not as easy as what you see on HGTV. So is that your 1-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan? I mean, where do you see your organization going?
So that's what we've already started. That's what we've already started, and that's where we're going to have this at everybody's fingertips, right?
Okay.
Where you are able, everybody should have the Bellwood app on their phone, right? Either to make money with, right? You can make money. You can walk down the street, walking your dog, see an ugly house, take a picture of it, pull up an app. It takes a picture of the house, uploads the information, comes to us. We find the owner, say, hey, you got an ugly house, want to sell it? We buy the house. You get a check in the mail. Now, any other apps in the app store where you can just make money like that?
Right.
Most other apps, you got to spend money, right? Well, if you shop at all these different grocery stores or restaurants or retail stores, we'll give you some money back. Like, no, Bellwood is purely a way to make money. That is the Bellwood agent app. Now, the investor app that's coming out here shortly, now that is really when we bring real estate investing to everybody's fingertips. You can do the HGTV stuff, but without having to know what's behind the walls. It's like becoming a heart surgeon without going through medical school. You can participate, you can be in the room, you can look and watch, you can even comment. Now, we're partnered with, like I said, PPG Paints, which allows us the opportunity to give our investors the ability to pick the front red door. I'm not a little. So pick the front door color, pick the wall color, pick the baseboards, pick the flooring, pick the carpet, right? If we have 15 different investors on it, each one of them could have something that they can choose to do, right? Now that gives them that inclusivity, right? They're able to actually say, hey, guys, I'm flipping a house. I even picked out the colors, right? We even have a Facebook. We have a Facebook page where everybody follows along with the progress of the home. So you're, as an investor, you see your money working for you. You don't just write a check, wire your money, and then pray. No, you get, what's my money doing today? Well, let's go on Facebook and invite my friends to come take a look. They just got done with drywall and texture.
You can watch the progress of the project.
And then you can take a breath of fresh air. My money's working for me. Now, other real estate investment companies, you write them a check and you pray that they're not on American Greed next year.
Yeah.
Right? That's what you're praying. You're like, did I just give another Bernie Madoff? I really hope not. This Bellwood Investments is completely transparent. There will be no convoluting, there'll be no mixing, and there's no robbing Peter to pay Paul. Your money goes to this title company, to that escrow. It goes directly to that property, and there's no other way it can be distributed.
Yeah, that's actually the biggest piece of everything that you just said, because these other investment clubs, right? It's just going into a pot. And like you said, you have no idea where that money is going. But if you're actually wiring it to the escrow company and you're on the deed of trust, it's that specific project that you're an owner in.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Someone could fall off the side of the map. Your money still goes to that property.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Very cool. And I want to ask one thing. I did see Grant Cardone, he's full of a lot of opinion, but this one kind of caught me off guard. He said that, right now, baby boomers are, getting older, and as they die, they're going to sell their homes. There's going to be a flood of homes on the market because the younger generations don't want their homes. They're going to be, living in Airbnbs and traveling the world and all this. So, and he's saying now's the time to sell. If you're going to sell a house, now's the time, because pretty soon the market's going to be flooded with homes no one wants. So do you really think that's coming, or what's your opinion on that?
So we've already seen the baby boomers start to sell their homes, right? What's held that back right now is COVID. They don't want to get out of their house. It's that's, just by numbers, sheer numbers. We've seen that they just don't want to have people pumping through their homes, getting inspections. They just don't want to deal with it. So we've seen a little slow back on that. Now, eventually, yeah, absolutely, everybody has to sell their home eventually, right? And there just happens to be a whole bunch of baby boomers. So whether or not that happens in 1 year or 2 years, over a 5-year period of time, 10-year period of time, I do agree with him at some point in time. I just don't think it's going to hit like at one moment and saturate the entire market. There's too much demand right now. Too much demand. The only time I'm going to see the market really get saturated is if interest rates go up, right? Interest rates go up, then we're going to see some saturation.
Are you seeing millennials and the younger generations buying homes?
You guys still there?
Yep. Can you hear me?
You there?
Yep, I got you.
So are you seeing the younger generations buying homes still?
Oh, absolutely. So especially those in the tech industry right now. Those coming up from the Bay Area, young families wanting to start their family. Absolutely, they're picking up these homes, but they don't want something that they have to work on. They don't. Right. So you got a lot of millennials that want to buy and own real estate, but they don't want to necessarily go through all of the plumbing and the electrical. They want to get in there, set up shop, and be good to go. And so that's what we see a lot of attraction for Bellwood homes, is because they're ready to go. They come in there, they don't have to run any new wiring or anything like that. We got a new panel, new windows, new roof for the most part, and they can just get in there and go. It's what I have seen is anything that needs some work. The younger generation, unless they have a lot of time on their hands, are avoiding them. Who you see buying those are older families that can either work on them or investors.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. I think the younger generation wants to be homeowners, but be renters. They want to rent their own home. They don't want to have the maintenance, the upkeep, the mowing, the pool upkeep, none of that stuff. They just want to, like you said, move in and it just be mechanical. Everything is done, for them, and they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
They'll pay for it.
They want turn.
That's right.
Yeah. They'll pay to have, it's like owning an apartment and having a manager at the apartment, It's like, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to have a house manager. Just take care of all this stuff for me.
That's okay. There's an app for that, Mitch. They're going to get someone to come and do it.
There's an app. They just want to clean house, mow lawn. Yep.
That's right.
Absolutely.
We're technology and all the conveniences it brings.
That's right. This has been very informative, Bo. I really appreciate it. This was a great discussion. I certainly learned a lot, and it was really interesting to hear kind of how you started and then where you're taking it. And we're excited to be along the journey with you to watch this. It's been fantastic.
Honored to
how do we learn more? So how do people learn more about all of this?
Absolutely. I'd love for everybody to learn more. So bellwoodinvestments.com, that's Bellwood with one L. Okay. Or I'm happy to field a call from you guys. Go ahead and call the office at 916-990-3010. I'm here in the office most of the time. If you'd like to jump on a call personally, just get on the calendar. Would love to chat with you guys. We can talk about building a real estate team that's focused around Bellwood. Okay. Which means you just have a cash buyer and then limited cash buyer. You can really build an awesome team with that. Or if you want to talk real estate investing, getting into a flip, and you don't have all the time or all the money, but you really want to get into it, well, we have the B52 method, and it's all on bellwoodinvestments.com.
Awesome. And I will recommend following him because he's a good follow on social media to see some of these houses that he, does go view and maybe not buy, but interesting to see some of the stuff he runs into and hear some of the stories behind the scenes of what happens, throughout these flips and squatters and hoarders and and all that stuff. So it's a good watch. It's like HGTV,
but real life. Yeah,
but real life, exactly.
Check us out on social media. Yeah, it's a good show there.
Awesome. All right, Bo. Well, hey, I appreciate you being here with us today. And if anybody has any questions for Bo, make sure you give him a follow and reach out to him.
All right.